We are delighted that you're joining us for another podcast of Wake Up Aligned, and it is the podcast for chiropractors, where we get to talk about chiropractic lifestyle, and topics of interest. You can contact us through our email, and that is mailbag@amcfamily.com. Welcome back to Wake Up Aligned. Very excited to have you here. And this is a topic that we have had on our hearts for really quite a while. And it kept showing up on other podcasts. And we finally have submitted to Innate and said, okay, we'll do a show on this subject. And I know that this is something very important to you and something that you have a lot to share. And I am here, as always, with my good friend, Tom Owen. Today's topic is never kid yourself. Never kid yourself. Now, that may seem like a very small thing, but how this applies and affects you in your daily life is a very profound thing. So, Tom, I want to tell the story of how this was introduced into my life. So, my mentor, Tom's father, Dr. Tom Owen, taught me really a lot about life and life principles, not just chiropractic principles, but this was a principle of life that he shared. And we were at an AMC boot camp. This had to be late 98 and early 99. This was very early on for me. And he told the Dallas Stroshine story. Now, for those of you who've never been in a class with Dr. Tom Owen, he told a lot of stories, but the stories he told all had a principle or a reinforcement of a concept, and he gave you that story so you could latch onto that and have that recall with it. Well, this Dallas Stroshine story was the principle behind I never kid myself. So Dr. Tom is in school at Palmer College, and he's sitting beside or around another chiropractic school student who is blind. And Dr. Owen called it a pecker board. So he's taking the notes on this board, I guess typing up Braille notes as the instructors are doing their thing and driving your dad crazy, right? He's like, I can't hear the professor talk. Can you shut that thing down? Whatever. And this guy was totally blind. I guess had been blind his whole life. But from the interaction that the other classmates had with Dallas, everybody had the same opinion of the man. He was positive and uplifting and fun, and he, if you just didn't see his cane or how he interacted, you wouldn't even know he was really blind. He would cross the street by himself, and one day your dad said, "Hey, Dallas, how do you do that?" And he says, "I can feel the vibrations of the cars and the cobblestones in the soles of my feet." And your dad thought that was just the coolest thing. He would race other people up the stairs to the bathrooms during breaks between classes. I mean, just a real character. Well, it came about where they had a psychology class, and the professor, the instructor in the class, actually, I don't know if it was intended or just a spur of the moment thing, but called on Dallas Stroshine and said, "Dallas, here you are with this tremendous affliction. You're blind. You're totally blind. And yet, from your classmates, you have the best attitude of anybody in the school. To what do you attribute that?" And Dr. Owen said, "I thought that was a pretty good question." So I perked up and I tuned in, and Dallas cleared his throat and he said, "Oh, that's easy, Doc." First of all, your dad said, "That's easy. I'm totally blind, but I have this great attitude. Sure, that's easy. Everybody does that." Dallas says, "That's easy, Doc," or "That's easy, Professor. I never kid myself." And that was a big, big lesson that your dad was exposed to that day and took to heart and applied in his own life and taught others to apply in theirs, including mine. And we have a class that we actually do at our summit training weekends called Breakthrough. And that is the class on the schedule. But for the instructors in that class, we call that the Dallas Stroshine class. Because if we're going to break through your issue, your problem, your hurdle, your barrier, we have to first start with, are you kidding yourself about that? And a lot of us are. We go through life kidding ourselves about our practice or our attitude or our effort or our concepts or our humility, right? So I hope that was a good rendition of that story. I hope I did it justice. But we are going to explore that concept of never kidding yourself. Where would you like to start today, Tom?
I think I'll start with just the realities, right? The reality of where almost every listener, even if you're an Align member, even if I'll throw a shout out to my good friend Henri Dalliers, right? Henri Dalliers has been around almost as long as you have, Dr. Shannon. And yet,
yes, sir.
And yet, my good friend Dr. Dalliers never kids himself, right? And every listener can take on the realities of that. I doubt there's any listener out there short of a blue coat. Maybe folks like maybe Amanda Austin could go along with this, but I doubt anybody knows the depths of the AMC system and the sub-level, the subconscious level content that's there, as well as Dalliers. But the realities are that I spoke of came to light at our recent Fab event, right? Now there's Dr. Oz, along with the likes of Dr. Jared Whalen and Dr. Kelly Henry. I mean, these are some heavyweights, folks. These are people that are prepared to take you into the millionaire mindset of what abundance looks like. Now, see, when I say millionaire mindset, everybody just goes straight to the money, the million. But you don't get $1 million by having a 5-cent head on your shoulders. You have to walk with a level of abundance. You carry yourself with a level of abundance. You walk with confidence. You walk with an understanding, and you never kid yourself. So if you want the millionaire mindset is always teachable. A millionaire mindset is always humble. A millionaire mindset always has the willingness to work. And when I said it came to light was there's Dr. Oz and Dr. Whalen and Dr. Henry launching the Apex program, right? The millionaire mindset. And we had, 20-something folks take the Apex test, right? Gauging where you are because there's no reason for you to go that direction if you don't have a measuring stick of where you are. All right. Now, we had some pretty good heavyweights in there. I won't name names because I don't want to embarrass anybody, but there were some heavyweights in there. There was actually a couple of blue coats in there that took the test, right?
Yep.
Would you like to know that nobody aced that test? No one aced that test. And then the people that think they are ready for the Apex program, there was some just of the basics of patient compliance. It was very alarming to me and Dr. Osborne, who looked those tests over. Dr. Osborne did all the grading, but I got to review all of it. It was very alarming to find that I'll give you one. Let's just give one component and we can talk about those components if you'd like. But the fact that almost the vast majority of them could not name the 6 S's. Now, if you're a listener out there and you're not an AMC Align member, you don't know what did he just say? You don't know what the heck I'm going to talk about. And even if I covered it, I couldn't cover it in 10 podcasts, much less one. But the depth that is found in the 6 S's of patient and the patient compliance factors that come to bear is just a different level. I mean, it's mastery, it's genius level stuff. But here are heavyweights kidding themselves, thinking they're ready for this, and they can't even name the 6 S's much. So what does that tell you, Dr. Shannon? That tells you if you can't name them, what's the odds that you are walking around utilizing those components in a subconscious manner. I'm not talking about some checklist you're carrying around in your hand. You look down and go, okay, I want to cover special, super satisfied. I don't, all these S's. That's what, if you're having to work it off of a checklist, it is not in your subconscious that it's just a part of your nature anymore. So that was where, I mean, that's a never kid yourself moment to me. It's alarming. It was both alarming and encouraging. The alarming factor of, holy mackerel, there's a lot of people that don't know that they don't know because they don't know what they don't know. Very encouraging to know that the AMC aligned family, the growth factors that are taking place across the board is second to none. It's uncomparable that you had over 100 members or nearly 100 members grow by $100,000 or more last year, that we had almost every AMC member had their best year ever last year, and yet most of them are scratching the surface of the genius that's inside the AMC system. But if you're one of those, and I'll throw it back to you here in just a second, if you're one of those doctors listening that have the audacity, the ignorance, I'm sorry, to say, oh yeah, that AMC, they got some good procedures. I've got everything I wanted. I'm good to go. That's ignorant, because you're kidding yourself to think you are not at the level of the genius level of absorbing this content. But as long as you have that attitude, guess what? Is it bothering me? Does it hurt me? Does it hurt Tom Owen sitting here today? Nope. Does it hurt Shannon? Nope. Does it limit that person with that attitude's potential? It doesn't just limit it, it caps it. I mean, it's done. As long as you have an attitude of, I've learned what I need to learn, I've arrived. You haven't arrived until you met St. Peter. And the key to that principle, when I hear, I never kid myself, is another principle that I heard years later, was you're either green and growing or you're ripe and rotting. And if you have an attitude like that I've already arrived, then what's the point of me talking today? Right? People are kidding themselves.
When I think about that, I think about the opportunities we have at our training summits for people to make a commitment. Now, for those of you who've never been to a training summit weekend, you owe it to yourself to be there and be there regularly. But there are opportunities, not for me, not for Tom, but for that person to make a commitment on something that they need to improve, change, adopt, stop doing, whatever. These are the I'm not kidding myself moments, right? And how many times, Tom, have we had someone at that opportunity say, I have a commitment to attend every meeting, right? And we always celebrate that. Why? Because we need to see their face I don't need to see their face every summit weekend. It's great to see them, but they're not coming there for me and my benefit. They're coming there and we celebrate for their benefit. And we celebrate that because we know there's a documented history of improvement, a % increase from a doctor who chooses to do that. I'll tell you one that we just had, Dr. Sheila Barnett. She had this commitment to come to every meeting this year. She has been to every meeting this year, and big coincidence in quotations. She's had her 2 best months back to back, and she's not stopping yet. See, that's not an accident, but that's Dr. Sheila in her moment a year ago saying, I need to stop kidding myself about this commitment and my sacrifice about this commitment. If I have to be here at every meeting, I'm going to be here at every meeting, right? That's what I think about when I hear about this Dallas Stroshine and making a commitment. And whether it's the training material library, its procedures, its certified training centers, whatever it is, right? You need to be audacious enough to make a commitment, stop kidding yourself, and say, I'm going to do this. Come hell or high water, I am going to see this thing through. And now we got something we can work
another
with.
great example of that was a commitment that took place at FAB, and give a shout out to Dr. Tony Ray.
Yep.
I mean, Dr. Tony Ray is already well accomplished. Fantastic practice, fantastic AMC member. But there he is. He's willingness to admit, I've only got one. That's a great one. Never kid yourself, everybody. His realization is, I've only got one trip through this. I only got one career. There is going to come a day that every listener, your last day in practice is coming. So what's that experience? What's that career going to be like? Right? So when you say, I'm tapping out, I'm all set, I've learned everything I'm going to learn, whatever that nonsense is, you're changing your course, or you're accepting the course that you're set for. And a lot of times that course is going to start declining. But Dr. Tony Ray, there he is. He stands up and says, I'm committing to, I've got to do this and do this right. I don't want to fail my community. I don't want to fail my team. So I'm committing to doing a full hard reset. Right? Now, does Dr. Tony Ray, would he have been the person in that room that I would have said, sitting up there teaching, oh, he's the one that needs a hard reset? No, but see, I don't know what's going on inside Tony Ray's head. I don't know his application processes. I don't know. All I'd have to measure is statistics. But there's a guy that says, I'm not kidding myself. I've got one trek through this, and I need to deliver the best for my family. I need to deliver the best for my community.
It is amazing how we don't know what those people in the audience need. I mean, we have an idea of where this person is through their mentor and looking at their stats and that kind of stuff. But you can have somebody stand up and say, I've been kidding myself on XYZ. And by every external measure, they have a fantastic practice, right? But they know there's more potential inside of them. And when you get to that last day in your practice, whenever that's going to be, you do not want to cross the finish line carrying regret. And I promise you, if you leave potential untapped, if you take the music to the grave with you, that's inside of you, if you bury your talent in the sand, you will hit that last day regretting you didn't go for it.
You just use the term potential. Right? What is potential? I asked the listener, if you've never heard me talk on this, what is potential? When I sit there and I can look at, say, Ryan here that's in the studio with me today, and I can look in his eyes and I can see that, and I can sit there and I can see potential in his eyes. I can see potential in his kids' eyes when they come and visit. What is potential? Folks, potential is truth in waiting. God-given potential is truth in waiting. It's already true. It's already true. You just have to start believing in it and on it and acting upon it. All right? And if you have limited beliefs that leads you to kid yourself, then that potential will not be realized. If you have limiting beliefs, or you have an attitude of, I've already arrived and I'm all that, guess what? It limits the revelation of that potential. Potential is truth in waiting. It's already true. And remember what truth is, Dr. Shannon, before I throw it back to you. Truth stands the test of time. So that means the potential in you is truth that will stand the test of time until you bury it, like you said. And truth stands. As Winston Churchill said, malice may attack it. Ignorance may deride it. But in the end, truth stands. So if you're ignorant enough to have an ego and pride that lets you have that attitude of, I don't need it, I've arrived, wherever, you're kidding yourself. All you're doing is killing the very truth and potential that's within you. You're not hurting anybody. You're not doing anything to me. I'm walking in abundance. I'm going to get out of this studio in this particular weekend. I live in Florida. I have a beautiful family. I'm going to spend the weekend on the boat. I'm walking in abundance, not because of the things I have, but the quality of life or the level of mindset that I walk in, right? I am going to stay humble. I'm going to stay teachable. And when I find sources that I trust and can connect with, I keep those things tight. That's why you and I, Dr. Shannon, have a relationship that's over 25 years old. Why? Because I have a source. And why would I ever sever that source? That source is more important than the dollar itself, right? The value of the relationship is more important than the value that can come from the relationship, if that makes any sense, right? You and I are in business together. We work together, but the value of the relationship is more important than the value that I can make from the relationship. Follow me? So anyway, I know I just got deep there for a second, but that's what potential is. When I hear that word, it means so much to me. It means so much. It's truth in waiting. You just have to start believing in it and acting upon it. And the only way you're going to believe or act is you got to adjust that attitude. Nothing's ever going to beat the attitude. If you have the attitude that you're going to tune us out right now and, hey, press pause on the podcast or turn us off right now. Guess what? That's just an attitude because you didn't like what we had to share today.
Man, our innates are right on top of it because as you were talking before you got to attitude, I had already had it in my spirit. I think it's appropriate that wherever the listener is right now, when they can safely get in front of a mirror, go ahead and put yourself in front of a mirror, get up close, look into your eyes, look into those windows of your soul, and ask yourself a very simple question. Am I kidding myself about my attitude? Whatever that may be for you, right? An attitude of gratitude, an attitude of pessimism or cynicism, an attitude of I've arrived, I don't need anything else, I'm big shot, I'm whatever. You do some work with this one. I dare you to. Because what that will reveal to you is more powerful than this podcast in your life, right? So what do you think about that, Tom? Is that an appropriate exercise to ask our listeners to follow through with?
The eyes are but the windows to the soul, and the most uncomfortable exercise you can do is to look into the windows of the soul up close. So sure, everything starts with there because, what is it? A mirror is but a piece of silver glass. It says nothing but if I pass. But when I stop, as oft I do, it is a friend most true because it's me that I see within. It's that, that's an exercise that can't be beat because you can't fake it. You can't fake that exercise. You can fake listening to us. You can kid yourself in thinking that you've arrived. And by the way, you said a great attitude a while ago, the attitude of gratitude. What's the greatest attitude on earth? There's two of them. There's two that lock horns side by side. It's the attitude of whatever it takes. And the second most important one is the attitude of gratitude. And if you have a thankful heart, thinking good is thanking God, and thanking God is thinking good. And if you're in an attitude of thankfulness, you can't kid yourself. It's hard to be cynical. It's hard to be critical. It's hard to be egotistical. It's hard to be prideful. It's hard to be greedy. It's hard to be all that if you're exercising an attitude of gratitude. So, and an attitude of gratitude is, thank you, Lord, that I've got this opportunity today. An opportunity to grow, to stay green and growing. And that's not kidding myself, right? I've got ways to go. I've got to improve. I've only got one trip through it. I want to run the good race. And when the race is done, I don't want any tread left on the tires. And that's living where we get to the end of it. All that's left are the lives we touched and to what extent they were changed. And I don't have to carry the baggage of regret. Because, by the way, listeners, regret sucks. And I'll end on that.
I have a belief and an understanding this is one that's going to be on repeat. I think if we look at our stats over the next year or two, this will be the one that people come back to a lot because the message is always true, right? No matter where you are in your walk, right? Appreciate you very much and what you shared today. I've enjoyed this podcast immensely. Maybe we can do another one like this around the corner. So listeners, we always appreciate you. Hit us up with that mailbag at amcfamily.com. Let us know what you're interested in. Submit your questions. You can even do it anonymously. Give us a shout out. We try to give our shout outs to you. Give your shout outs to us if we're doing a good job and what we can do to improve it.
Let's just end it on this. Make a commitment, not an excuse. And the best commitment that you can make, stop kidding yourself. AMC Aligned members, be at all summits. That will be the best investment that you could make in the year is to be at all summits. You want to get there? Stop kidding yourself. Stop kidding yourself. Get to the summits. And by the way, next year, these summits, there's going to be less of them, right? You've asked for more and more online content, so there's more and more of that coming. So you have to make next year a priority. Go ahead and get the calendar out. Set it in stone right now. Make a commitment. Stop kidding yourself. With that, Dr. Shannon, I'll sign it off. Everybody, we love you. We appreciate you. We love the opportunity that we get to serve with you and alongside you. And until next time, live well and serve well. God bless.
And one more thing before we go. If you're a chiropractor who's searching for a better way to build a more sustainable, low-stress practice, then you can contact us at amcfamily.com. You can schedule a discovery session, or you can access any of our free content, webinars, podcasts, and the like.